Hello! Welcome to me, Fieros, on Fieros channel. Fieros Reborn, and I am reborn. I feel reborn. I have suddenly got a massive perk up of energy. Bing, 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 bing. So welcome back to me, Fieros Reborn. Hello. We're going to be doing a Fieros' story time, and we're going to be doing it quick time. Shazam. I don't know exactly why I've suddenly perked up. I feel kind of hyper. I'm holding my hands in there again so that I don't do the whole face itch thing, because that was getting annoying. I was constantly itching my nose all the time. You try and itch it with the blowing of the nose. So, welcome back, Fieros. My name is apparently Reborn. I am. Oh yes. So, oh yeah. So I don't know exactly why I got so fucking hyper. I've had like 2 or 3 days without any contact with anyone. Like no one at home. My mum's away. I don't have any friends or acquaintances or sexual partnerships. I don't know. I've just been by myself, and I crave for being by myself. I love being by myself. Like I need it for a certain period of time, like per week, and I need it quite often as well in an extended period. For an extended period. I'm on my period. Anyway, maybe that's why I've gone hyper all of a sudden. I'm on my period. Anyway, hello, welcome to Fieros Reborn. I am reborn. I feel reborn. Hello. Can you tell? I'm reborn again for the 3rd time this month. Okay, so yeah, I don't know where the energy came from. I think because I decided at about 5 o'clock or maybe 7 o'clock today. I decided that's it. I'm not doing anything else. Not doing anything. Nothing. Not doing. I was only planning to do reading, watching movies, and playing computer games of all things, and eating and sleeping and drinking water and drinking other things, not alcohol. So it's just a very basics period of time, doing not much, and certainly no work. Yeah, until Wednesday when my mum comes back. It is now Sunday late evening, 30 past 11, half past 11, 32 minutes past, believe it or not. Yeah, okay, and so I decided, right, I'm not doing anything else. I'm just going to sit here. Literally, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit and look around. And that doesn't really count as doing anything. I'll just sit, think, look around, rest. And that's quite hard for me to do for an extended period of time. Like, even though I go on about meditation and spirituality and stuff, I realise that, yeah, I do those like pauses where I'm just not doing anything, but they don't last more than about 5 minutes or 10 minutes or half an hour. Or if I'm in the bath, that kind of counts as not doing anything because I don't take any stimulation into the bath. Stimulation. I don't take any stimulation into the bath because I find it overstimulating. Yeah. I've totally forgot what I'm on about. Yeah, but anyway, so I just thought, right, I'm doing nothing. I'm not even going to read. I just went like that for about, I don't even know how long. Maybe it was only an hour. But then I thought, okay, I'm going to have another bath. So I had 3 baths today in total. Baths. Yeah. And I went to have my 3rd bath. And I must have been in there for about an hour and a half. Just like, I've been not moping, but I've been processing stuff, which means I've just been lying around thinking a lot. So I've been reading this book by Anthony Robbins called Awaken the Giant Within. and I've already read it once, but I didn't get all the way through it. I only got to about page 200 the first time. And this time I'm determined to finish the whole fucking thing, because I just want to complete tasks. Complete. I am completo man. Task complete. Must complete task. Must complete task. Task. I have ascertained the task. Must complete task. I am completo man. It's a robot that completes tasks. Made it up years ago. Completo man. Task complete. Ding. Beep, 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 beep. Anyway, yeah, so I just want to fucking complete tasks at the moment. Okay, so yeah, so I just sat around sat around thinking and stuff for the most part of the day while I was reading the book. I'd read a little bit of it and then I'd go, oh, and have a load of thinking about what the guy's just written. And I'd be like, thinking about things in my head, you know, and coming up with occasionally with ideas about it or about other things. And then I don't exactly know what happened, but maybe from the third bath, I kind of finished a load of thought trains. So it's like I was processing stuff, thinking about events from the past, both distant past and recent past. And it was like, okay, so I finished thinking about that one. I was like, okay, right, that's finished. And then I was like, what else is there that I need to think about? Think about a load of stuff. And I was like, okay, that's finished. And there's this kind of there are these moments of quiet where I'm just looking around and there's no thinking and I'm just kind of clear awareness and I'm not thinking anything. I'm just like, and then I go, what about this? I'll think about that, and then I'll think about something else for a while, and then that thought train came to an end. I was like, okay, so I've finished all my backlog of thinking, and also like I did a load of farts, which is always wise. If you've got a lot of gas, let it out, people. So I let the farts out, and that relieved a lot of pressure, and I felt less heavy because of the lack of gas weighing me down, because we know how heavy gas is. The heaviest thing on earth, man. It's heavier than death/rock death metal. Bitch. Piss cunt. Yeah, okay. So, Fieros reborn! I'm reborn! Back to Fieros. I'm like the fucking phoenix. I get to a point where I like go down to ashes and then I go, and then I become a phoenix again. Like that, yeah. So yeah, I just finished a load of thinking, farted out a load of gas, was invigorated from the bath, and then I was just suddenly got this wave of energy. It's like I haven't drunken any energy drinks, I haven't drunken any coffee. Drunken, is that the right word? Whatever. Drunken. I haven't drunken anything that would be stimulating. So I couldn't really explain it, but maybe it's just because I've been eating better lately, and maybe just having dealt with a lot of old thinking and some emotional stuff, that it's just kind of cleared me out a little bit, and I've finally finished processing some old stuff. Yeah, well, whatever. I used the energy to clean up the dishes quite quickly and read a bit more in the book, like without thinking too much about it, because before I was reading every sentence again and thinking about one sentence at a time for about 5 minutes per sentence. Like that. Read a bit. Oh, I wrote 3 sentences then, and then I went, oh, I don't agree with that. What? Oh yeah, let's read a bit more. Oh, that's a stupid fucking thing. What's he saying that for? Blah, 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 blah. And then I'd be, oh shit, yeah. Right, let's read some more. So that's how the book was going. This time, because I was hyper, I just like had the really clear mind. I just read the book like a laser beam. Aha, yeah. Task complete. Bing, ding. Anyway, yeah. So I figure, okay, let's check the time on the thingy. 9 minutes. Oh, got ages to fill. Okay. Right. Well, let's crack on with the Fieros' story time then. That was the story of today. You're all up to date on today. I've got some chips in the oven. They are cooked, but they're just cooling down. So I will eat them afterwards. I've been eating mostly a vegetable diet. Yeah. So that's that. That's that. Okay. Oh. Okay, so let's try and do a summary. 2004, I finished my A levels. I got AAB. I got the B in drama. I got the other two A's in art and English. English literature, not English language. There were two options, and I chose literature. I believe. No, was it literature and language? Yeah, literature and language. Oh well. So, I did a physics AS level, which stands for AS level. I did a physics AS level, but I decided to quit the physics, to drop that in the second year and just do 3 A levels. Some people did 4 A levels, total A levels, A2 they call it. A2 is a complete one. Well, they used to complete them. I mean, they used to call it that anyway. I don't know what they call them now. B levels. I don't know. C level. No. Okay, so OMG levels. Rah. Come on now, let's focus. So I dropped the physics in the second year because I was of the mindset, this is how I decided these things. At the time, I was like, okay, do I want to do another 8 hours of this a week? No. And that's how I choose my girlfriends as well. Which is, do I want to wake up with this person next to me every day for the rest of my life? No. Until it came to the person who would say yes, and then she cheated on me and I kicked her out anyway. But there you go. So yeah, 2004, I got good A levels. I was with this girl called Andrea. She fucked things up big time by shagging some bloke while I was on holiday. And then I came back and I quizzed her about it and I grilled her like a steak on the like a steak on the Barbie. Barbie girl, I'm a Barbie girl. Yeah, I grilled her like a fish on the knife. No, I grilled her like a sausage on the turntable. No, I grilled her like a piece of lamb on a rack. No, I grilled her like an MI5 agent would grill a very bad, secretly bad person. So I just said, "You, what have you done?" And she goes, "And I went, "You've been cheating on me, haven't you?" And she went, "Me." And then I said, "I can tell you have." And she went, "Okay." And I went, "What have you done?" And she said, "Ah." And I went, "Tell me, you bastard." And she went, "Ah." And then I said, "You, have you kissed him?" And she went, "Yes." And I went, "You kissed him?" And she went, "Yes." And I said, "You, did you sleep in the bed with him?" And she goes, "Well, I did sleep in the bed with him, next to him, yes." And I went, "Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah." And she went, "Yes." And I went, "Did you?" And she went, "Yes." And I went, "Did you really?" And she went, "Yes, I did. I slept with him in the bed. I slept with him in the bed with him." And I went, "Oh!" I said, "Oh, so you slept with him in the bed next to him, did you?" And she went, "Yes, yes, I did. I'm sorry, I did." And I said, "Oh, so you just slept next to him, did you? Is that all you did?" "I don't think it's all you did, is it? You just, what do you think I am, some kind of idiot? You know, I know, you know, I know what you know, I know. I know what you're like." No, I didn't say that. I said, "I know what's going on here. You can't just, no one just sleeps in a bed next to a person." She went, and I said, "Yeah, I know what's going on here." And then I said, "You had sex with him. Did you have sex with him?" And she went, "Yes." I said, "You had sex with him, did you? You had sex with him? You had sex with him?" And she went, and I said, "Oh, okay, bugger." And she went, and, and then we had sex a couple more times, had a nap together, and then I left the next morning. after having gone out dancing with another chick whose name shall remain undisclosed at this time. Because there's a slim likelihood of her actually watching this. What if I do it like this? No, I don't think that should be allowed. Okay, so then what happened? I ate some noodles. They were great noodles, real good noodles. Yeah. And things were shit. And I wrote a song called "Better," which says, "I hate this, and is it better for you? Don't take him, unless he's better for you. Thinking of the bastard that she slept with over there in the corner." Okay, so then, all right. So then I got a job at the Outback Steakhouse because my Legoland work had finished. I needed money because I had a car. I did get a tax rebate for 800 quid when the Legoland season ended, but 800 quid's not very long. I mean, not very much, so it ran out pretty quick. Had a Rover 25 at that point. Rover 25. Needed to keep that going. Parents were paying for insurance and tax and maybe even MOT as well. And maybe even repairs at that point as well. I was in a band called Silent Dawn. We had been going since I was 16, but I was 18 at this point in the story, sorry. The other main songwriter in the band, called Steph, decided to leave. I couldn't convince her to come back. There's nothing I could do or nothing we could change about the band that would make her want to stay, so she left of her own accord. I did not kick her out, she kicked herself out. And I think we were always vying for the limelight each, and I was an egomaniac, and I don't think she felt like she was getting much airtime. And to be fair to her, she was the more talented singer, and I think she deserved to have her own project. So that's what she went to do next, was to do her own project where she could be the front person, which I think that's the best thing for her, to be fair. Even though, that's fine to say in hindsight, but at the time I was really kind of more like, oh man, why are you going to go to some shitty new metal punk rock project? So screamo, yeah. Anyway, so she left, couldn't get her back. Andrea fucked off with that bloke and ended up going out with him for a couple of years while she was at uni, 2-3 years, whatever. And then he ended up stealing a load of money from her as well. So they broke up when they finished uni, or before they finished uni, and he owed her like, I don't know, 300 quid or something. I don't know what it was for, whether it was for rent or something or whatever. But so she ended up breaking up with him. We got back in contact after she broke up with him. We were already together. I wish we were. We were already in contact a little bit, but we got more in contact again after she broke up with Alan. Yeah, okay, but that's kind of like running different aspects of the story simultaneously. So the main thing at the time that I'm trying to talk about was I was in the band with my bassist Jim and our drummer Chris. That was going not very good because Chris was doing his A-levels. He was 2 years younger than us. I met him when I was doing a school play, and he was doing the drums for the school play, and I was in the play as an actor, and my friend Sam was the guitarist for the ensemble, not orchestra, but ensemble instrumentation. I guess an orchestra, yeah, call it orchestra. The band. He was in the band for the play. And so Sam and Chris started playing together. Chris was on drums and Sam was playing guitar. And then I kind of poached Chris off of Sam and got Chris to get involved in our band Silent Dawn with me, Jim and Steph. So then that band was a 4-piece. That's how the band started. Well, there was a little phase where we had a different guy, also of the name of Chris, in fact, different surname, of course. But we got rid of him quite quickly, even though we made our first 2 recordings with the first Chris. He went by the name of Wilmo, DJ Wilmo. We did a couple of recordings in his home studio at his house in his little room. And yeah, they were all right. It was good fun. One was called When I See You and one was called Melancholy. So we did that. We also did another demo, but we won that recording time. We won the recording time from a Battle of the Bands contest in, I don't know, 2002 maybe. Wow, 2002, it sounds like a long time ago. Sounds dangerously close to 2001, and we all know what happened in that year. A space odyssey happened. No. Kabloom! Everything blew up in 2001. So, and loads of people died. Let's move on. Yeah, so we won some recording time. We recorded 2 tracks. One was called Why, and one was called Made for Morning. Both were actually dealing with the subjects of death, believe it or not. Death. The first one was about aging, really, and meaning and aging in the context of death. And then the second one was about one of Steph's sister's friends and her own friend had died. I don't know what of exactly, cancer maybe. So she was writing a song because she was upset and grieving and sad and mourning about the friend who had died. So it was called Made for Mourning. Because the song was made for mourning. Boom. Yeah, so we did a recording of those 2 songs. It went down really well, as in we really enjoyed it, and came out really well as well. Just sounded really good. First time doing proper professional quality recordings, and we were just so excited and very, very pleased with how it came out. Pardon me. So, that's the band stuff, but fast forward again to me getting a job at Outback. My bassist Jim had already got a job at Outback, so we'd all left school by that point, right? Apart from Chris, who was doing his A-levels, which was proving difficult for us in the band because we can't really do rehearsals and gigs and forget about recordings. We did one recording. We did the recording of Better and a song called Love Drunk in one studio session, which my dad paid for of £600. 2 days recording, sorry. £300 a day sounds like a lot. Maybe it was 3 days, £200 each. I don't know. I think it's like £300 a day. Yeah, that's a lot, isn't it? Anyway, so we recorded these 2 songs, recorded and mixed these 2 songs over that 2-day period. Better, which is the song I'd written about Andrea, and Love Drunk, which was the song I wrote about a girl called Vicky, who I went out with for a couple of months before I went out with Andrea. Which, an interesting aside, is that when I was in year 8 and I was trying to pretend that I had a girlfriend, right? Because I needed to have a girlfriend to look good. And I was trying to make Steph jealous because I fancied Steph at that time. I was trying to make Steph jealous and make her kind of interested in me, like, oh, he's got a girlfriend. That's weird. Maybe I need to become interested in him again. Because we had this kind of tiny little relationship when we were kids, because I'd known her since since I was 9 years old at primary school. And the first thing I said to her when I was at primary school was, will you marry me? I didn't even say it to her. I wrote it on a piece of paper, will you marry me? And we had this pact between us that we would, if we didn't have partners by the age of 30, then we would marry each other, which was like a fun little pact. And I really wanted to hold her to that pact, but obviously it didn't go down because she turned out to be a lesbian. There you go. So, yeah, so we're not actually in contact either at the moment because shit went down, which I may get to in talking about the future part of this story. But anyway, so fast forward back. So I got this job at Outback because I needed a job. Jim, the bassist, had already got a job there. He was a chef on cold side, which means he's like doing salads and desserts and stuff and a bit of prep in the mornings. But Jim was finding that job quite stressful. Even though he seemed to enjoy it, he was also finding it quite stressful. So, you know, the old adage, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Well, Jim couldn't stand the heat, so he got out of the kitchen. And he quit, basically. But we were still in the band at that point, even though he'd quit. So Jim went into this phase of, like, getting high a lot because he didn't have a job. And I got high with him during those times as well. And as I said about Chris, he was doing his A-levels, so he was of limited value to us. We couldn't spend much time with him. He couldn't rehearse or record, or gig, sorry. Mainly it was about gigging and rehearsing. We did that one recording of the Better and Love Drunk songs. But because he was doing his A-levels, he just needed to dedicate his time to that. So fair play to him on that. Even though I was like quite pissed off at him because I was a bit of a dick basically, and I just wanted everything to work in my favour for the band, as in I wanted the band to be successful, and these were challenges that were unforeseen and I hadn't realised were going to happen. So I couldn't get commitment out of Chris, and Jim. That's weird, strange sensation in my head. Jim. Sorry, put the hand back. Jim. Oh man. Well, Jim was finding it hard to continue the band while we were looking for a new drummer. We auditioned at least one person. Maybe there were others as well that we auditioned, but we auditioned at least one person for the role of drummer, but no one fit with our style. And it was either they didn't fit with our style. I believe we auditioned at least two people actually. I can remember one who didn't fit with our style, one who kind of did but lived miles away. Like it took the guy an hour and a half to get to Uxbridge, which was slightly annoying for us to get to rehearse anyway. Was it even Uxbridge? Yeah, Uxbridge or West Drayton or something. And we were just like, okay, this is not going to work. So we're just like, meh. And after a bit of struggling, and me randomly hitting on Jim as well, while I was desperate for love or a girlfriend or whatever, and questioning my sexuality and getting high and not knowing what the fuck I was doing, I hit on Jim a little bit. I just kind of told him that I thought I might fancy him, because I guess, all right, let's just say I guess I did fancy Jim for a little bit against my will. Yeah, and then what? Well, then he just quit the band, and I decided that I was going to go to uni at that point. But I was still working at the Outback, and also I was starting to. So obviously, I had started to go out with Charlie by the time I decided I was going to go to uni. I'm just making that up. That might not be the case. But I'm trying to figure out, like, at what point did Jim quit the band, and therefore, at what point did I decide I'm going to go to uni? Like, I think uni had already been in the background of ideas anyway, but I was concerted to go to uni. I might have even already done my application, but wasn't necessarily sure. I'd applied to various different universities to do. I actually, yeah, I remember something now. I applied to do a different subject at each university that I applied for, which was weird. Like I applied to do film, I think, at one, and I applied to do art at another one. I applied to do drama, maybe. I don't think I applied to do music, but I just applied to lots of different ones with different subjects. And then I settled on going to Reading Art and Psychology, which is when I went to the. There was like an open day, I think, or an interview day. Prior to being accepted or after being accepted, I can't remember. I think there was a conditional acceptance upon going to a portfolio interview, so you had to show your portfolio of your work, so they could see what you were like, what you were like, and what your artwork was like, and whether it showed promise or high standards or whatever. So I went to that, and I met this girl called Josephine, and I met this girl called Faye. Josephine was the most beautiful woman who I had ever met at that point. Probably, maybe, just from memory, possibly the most beautiful woman I have ever met and spent any time in conversation with. Possibly, I can't remember. But at that time, I remember thinking she's the most beautiful woman I have ever met. I don't think I would have said woman either. I would have said girl. Most beautiful girl I'd ever met. Yeah. And as I said in the previous video on that topic, she had her parents had died in a car crash, and so she just lived with her brother, and she just seemed so sad all the time, as in more than sad, just very far away and distant. And I really wanted to get to know her because I'd never met anyone who'd gone through that, and I found that amazing and fascinating, and like I really genuinely felt sorry for her and cared for her in that moment. And I was like, oh my god, that's never occurred to me. It had never occurred to me at that time that both parents could have died and had died for this person in a car crash. I'd never heard of that before. So obviously it was theoretically true, but I'd never met someone who had actually gone through that. So that was strange and eye-opening. And the girl called Faye was eye-opening as well, because she helped me to snap out of my obsession with Andrea and like opened my eyes to that there were other women around and other people around even, um, that were interesting and intelligent and funny and witty and happy, that I could be friends with or get into a relationship with. Nothing came of the thing with Faye, and in fact I became a bit of an obsessive dick to her. I remember being at Jim's. I guess he was downstairs or something, and I was on the phone to this girl called Faye. I think her name was Faye. Yeah, let's just call her Faye anyway. On the phone to this girl called Faye for like 45 minutes, and I was thinking to myself afterwards, yeah, this is amazing because I've been on the phone to her for 45 minutes, and therefore that means that she likes me, because I always would gauge how good is a relationship going by the amount of time I could get the other person to stay on the phone for. So I just kept like keep the conversation going, keep the conversation going. 45 minutes. I was like, yeah, she definitely likes me then. Of course, she didn't like me, and she hadn't. I think she hadn't told me that she actually had a boyfriend. Blah. Why don't girls tell you? She just tell you straight away. By the way, I have a boyfriend, so this is never going to go anywhere. Oh, thanks very much. You should just told me that straight away. Yeah. Okay. That's kind of an aside, but whatever. Okay, so then I'd got the Outback job. The kitchen manager was a dick. His name was Joe. He was a big fat northern prick who was. You just felt like he was aggressive, and he had a caring side, but it was just clothed in this northern aggressive facade thing. He was actually really intelligent, and he was a sensitive man and a caring man and quite a wise man as well when you actually like got him to talk. But when he was in his kitchen manager role, he was just a dick. He would just shout at people, and no, he wouldn't shout at people. He'd just be a dick to people. He'd just be rude to people. Overly bossy, and he would not be. He was kind of inappropriate sexually with the women, the front of house women, so the waitering women, waitresses, I suppose you call them. I think that's not PC anymore to call it waitresses. The waitering staff, the serving staff, the women, the female serving staff. He was not. He was just sexually inappropriate, and it like. I think he kind of called them unflattering names, and like be condescending in a anti-feminism in a sort of chauvinistic way towards the women, or he'd make comments about the physical appearance like sweet cheeks or something. I can't remember exactly, but he would just be sexually inappropriate basically. And I went through this little period where I was going to try and gather evidence to present to someone about Joe and his inappropriate sexual conduct, because he'd also do things like lift me up and kiss me on the face, like in the middle of a shift. I didn't want it at all, and he'd always be trying to get hugs out of me and stuff. I'm like, you're fucking weird, man. What are you doing? No. So that bugged me because he kept doing it. He would do it like, I think he'd come up from behind and pick me up as well. And he had a big fat belly, and he'd always be trying to hug me, and then he'd kiss me and stuff. He's just like, what is this? So that was gross. And I was trying to gather evidence from the other waitering staff who had been sexually harassed basically by this guy. But then I bottled it basically, and I was like, oh, can't be asked. I just didn't. I don't know. I gave up for some reason. I just thought, I don't want to face doing all of this and going through some kind of procedure. I'm just like, no, I can't be bothered. And I think I just thought, I'm going to be going to uni anyway, so fuck it, I'll just leave it. Can't be bothered. But I did start asking people how he had been treating them. Meanwhile, on my days off or some time off, I had been doing some work for my Uncle David by graveling his driveway, and doing some digging and stuff for him as well in the garden. Just bits and bobs of work. And I'd also been doing my artwork, but importantly about the time I spent with Uncle David during that time of my life was getting into spirituality, because he'd done he was certified. He's got his qualifications in Chinese medicine, like acupuncture, acupressure, tweener massage, and herbal, Chinese herbal medicine. So he does all that still. And as part of that, or just through the people he'd met there, he'd got interested in Buddhism. I believe that he'd been interested in Buddhism and New Age spirituality for a while, judging by the books that I found in his bookshelf, because I used to teach my cousin Natasha how to play guitar as well, so I just had a look through their bookshelves, just my uncle's house, whatever, so you just go on a little bit of a look around at things sometimes, don't you? And so so I got interested in spirituality because of him, basically. And I bought this book by the Dalai Lama called The Art of Happiness. I think it's The Art of Happiness, The Way to a Meaningful Life. Read that, found it interesting. Okay, so this guy, Charlie, was interested in me at work. He started pursuing me because he found me attractive, because I'd cut my hair on around New Year's. I mean, I decided that if I got to New Year's Day on 2005, that, and Andrea hadn't got back to me, or hadn't sort of changed her mind, or hadn't wanted to be with me, then I would cut my hair and reinvigorate my look, which I did. And when I cut my hair and reinvigorated my look, Charlie, this younger host at the restaurant, became interested in me and started pursuing me and wanting to convert me and wanted to get in a relationship with me, basically. So he did things like shifting his rotas around to be coinciding with mine, supposedly giving me some preferential treatment on where, like what section I got in the restaurant to wait my tables, and which people got put on my tables, and he would help clean my tables down to help me speed up the end of my shift. And it was all based around me giving him lifts home at that point. That was his kind of excuse. He basically would ask me for a lift home because he didn't have a car and he didn't have any other way to get home, and he would just prefer to go with me. But I didn't realise that he was actually trying to pursue me in a relationship way. I was kind of knowing and not knowing at the same time, so I was a little bit naive, I suppose, to begin with, and then I obviously clocked on. But I didn't really want to do anything about it until I started to think about my sexuality issues, which had started cropping up a couple of years prior while I was in the relationship with Andrea, and I became sexually active, properly sexually active, as in lost my virginity. My some memories from childhood came back about me experimenting with boys and girls, but the boys experimenting with boys just troubled me at that time, and I didn't know how to interpret that. I didn't know how to make sense of it, so it just caused a hell of a lot of confusion and a lot of internal turmoil and drama, and caused me to break up with Andrea every 2 or 3 weeks because I couldn't figure out my damn sexuality, and it was just driving me insane. Being with a girl, having sex with this girl, having these memories come back that involved experimenting with boys when I was younger. What does that mean? Does that mean I'm gay? And people have teased me about being gay for most of my secondary school life as well. So what does that mean? Am I gay or not? But I'm obviously sexually aroused by Andrea. I'm not sexually aroused by boys or guys, men, whatever. So I just couldn't make sense of it all. So, that was a troubling turmoil, and possibly played into why Andrea even wanted to cheat in the first place. Like, our relationship was not exactly very stable. I'd be breaking up with her every 5 minutes, basically, because I was unsure of myself and I didn't know what I was really about at that point. Certainly not with regard to my sexuality, anyway. And that was a big deal for me at that time because it was just causing me so much fucking turmoil and suffering. Just, I didn't know one way or the other, and more the thinking around it, just thinking about it and not knowing, and thinking, not being able to come to a kind of satisfactory conclusion either way. Like, it wasn't enough evidence for me that I was sexually aroused by Andrea and enjoyed having sex with her and found her attractive and stuff. that wasn't enough somehow to prove to me that I wasn't gay. I don't know what I needed, but I guess later on, once Charlie had started pursuing me, this sexuality stuff came back a bit, and I was expressing myself more fully in my clothing choices, so I was feeling more exuberant, a bit more eccentric. Maybe people would have thought I was camp, but I was just finding ways to express my natural flamboyancy, eccentricity, just wanting to be a bit more kind of outrageous, but nothing majorly outrageous. I just wanted to show off my inner colour, if you like, and vibrancy in what I was wearing. And maybe that was interpreted as gay by some people because the only other people who did that kind of thing were gay. But so yeah, it was just kind of still a bit unsure what the hell. So around that time when Charlie started pursuing me, I, with the advice of my friend Sam, decided to give it a try with Charlie just to see for myself what my sexuality was, to have as a sexual experiment to see how I felt and whether I enjoyed it or not, and whether it was for me or whatever. So Sam, another person who worked at the Outback, Charlie and I went round to Charlie's place for some big family party thing, but we separated off from the family party. We just had our own little party in their back garden and got a bit topless, I think, and ran around and sprayed beer or champagne around and stuff and listened to music or whatever and just chatted shit and we're being drunk basically. And then Charlie and I went up to his room and had a wank, had a masturbation session together. And Sam and Ali, oh yeah, her name was Ali, okay. Sam and Ali went and I guess we're gonna have sex, but then got interrupted, or maybe they had sex. I don't know exactly what happened, but Sam had his top off and he was about to be playing with Ali's boobs, I think, or was playing with her boobs when we found them. Yeah, so Charlie and I had a hand job together in his bed after a bit of reluctance on my part, because I was like still not really sure that was what I wanted to be doing. And a bit scared because it was like going into the unknown and didn't really want to commit myself to anything, and I was afraid of what it might mean about me as well. Like, if I'd done anything like that at school, that would have been a major no-no. I would have been freaked out. So my inner sense of homophobia I was still trying to overcome that in order to just see for myself, what do I actually feel? I guess I enjoyed the hand job. I mean, I remember it felt kind of passionate. I remember it felt intense. I remember going and coming and stuff and kissing the guy, and he had his bristly mustache, sort of beardy thing, whatever. And yeah, I mean, I must have enjoyed it, even though I don't like to admit that I enjoyed it, because it kind of, fucking hell, whatever. I enjoyed it. I must have enjoyed it, otherwise I wouldn't have carried on. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Fine. Okay. So I enjoyed it and carried on being with him, even though I had this awareness that this was not exactly what I wanted to be doing. This is not truly what I wanted to be doing. I did feel like I was slipping into something, and I certainly remember thinking to myself that this is not what I want to be doing. I want to be experimenting with both men and women. I don't want to be tied down. And then I found myself tied down and unable to leave the relationship. So I was together with him for a while. There was a little part on the lead up to actually getting with him, which was going around to his house and practicing my hypnosis skills. Oh yeah. And meanwhile, before Charlie and I properly got together, or around that same sort of time, there was a crossover period between me trying to get with this girl called M, who was Jim's ex-girlfriend. Jim from the band, his ex-girlfriend, one of his ex-girlfriends was called M, who was like also a kind of groupie for our band during the time, our main period of activity in that band. So I used to spend time with her in like parties and stuff, and she was just around because she was Jim's girlfriend, and they were kind of on and off anyway for a bit. But yeah, so she became single. Well, I thought she was single anyway, and I was coming home from Outback, and I got in contact with M somehow, randomly. I don't know, phone number or something. I don't know exactly. Maybe through my ex Vicky. Can't remember, but yeah, I got got in contact with M and started hanging out with her. I believe for the first time it was just she came around to mine. Yeah, she came around to here in my bedroom, and we kind of had this session of talking and listening to music and stuff, and then slept next to each other. But I could never really understand why we didn't go further than that, why we didn't kiss. And I believe we may have hugged a bit, but why we never kissed, and why I couldn't bring myself to kiss her either, which was just very strange. And then later on I found out that she had a boyfriend, so it kind of makes sense in retrospect. But at the time I was like, I really want to do something right now. I really want to kiss her and take this further, but it just seems like it's a no vibe. You know, it's a no further than this vibe tonight, and she wasn't giving me the signals to go further. So I was just like, okay, well, I can't force myself upon her, so I just didn't. If I was any crueler and meaner of a man, I would have forced myself on her, but I was not. I was a sensitive person, and I still am. So I take care of the other woman's feelings, and I do not disrespect them on purpose. Yeah, I don't go against the feeling of the moment. Like, I can't push the moment further than the moment is supposed to be. So it's kind of like an exchange of energy or something. That's sort of like there's a dynamic to a relationship, and you kind of like, okay, assess, like, based on the feeling of it, what you can and can't do, and what is acceptable and not acceptable, and you just kind of feel that out. That makes sense. Where the boundary is and where the relationship is going at any given time. Yeah. So I was like hanging out with M, and we did some weed, and we hung out with her and her friends. One of the friends turned out to be her boyfriend, but I didn't know that until right at the end, where I saw them kissing and hugging. Her and so M and Chase, they were together. I didn't realise that until right at the end, as I say. And the group kicked me out basically because I was spending all of my attention and effort trying to flirt with M and get with M and be a good guy for M or something, and everyone else was just friends, literally just friends, apart from Chase, who was M's boyfriend, but I didn't know that. Yeah, so I felt bummed because they kicked me out because they realised that I was just trying to get with them, and I was playing off the others against each other in order to get them out of the way. Yeah, which is true. And I was getting high and practicing my hypnosis powers on these people while I was high as well, while they were high and I was high, whatever. We did a little bit of drumming and guitaring together once while we were high with a couple of them. But yeah, so that fizzled out because they kicked me out of the group, and I just remember, I think I just walked home feeling like crap after we'd been playing hacky sack either that day or the day before. And I just walked home from a nearby park and just went, I seem to get dumped in that park. I got dumped by Vicky in that same park, and then got kicked out of the friend group by them in that same park. It's just down the road. Yeah, so that park is not so good. So I guess if I ever want to break up with someone, I'll take them to that park and I'll have my revenge on everyone who's ever broken up with me or dumped me or kicked me out of their group before. That's the same park where I had my first date with Vicky. So the first date there and the last date there. Death by park. So I didn't kill her. She didn't kill me. Anyway, so yeah, so the thing with them just kind of fizzled out and didn't go anywhere. And by that point, I was getting desperate as well. There was this girl called Penny, and she was just too young. She was 16. She was flirty and attractive and nice, but had slightly piggy type nose. But that wasn't going anywhere. There was this girl called Christina, who was friends with Charlie, but I think she only flirted with me because she was going through a rough patch with her boyfriend Andy. So she just flirted with me a bit to sort of maybe get back at him, and then as soon as things went better with their relationship, she stopped flirting with me, and she kind of told me off for flirting with me and stuff like, oh, fucking hell. Even though she like purposely took me downstairs to watch her undress and get changed into her work uniform one time, which was weird. Yeah, and there's this girl called Tatiana, and I went around to her house after work one time in Hounslow. We just sat there and kind of tried to make conversation, but it was just really awkward, and we seemed to have nothing in common. I think she was like way older than me, and I didn't even realize how much older she was. So she was just kind of like, and I was trying to flirt, and just nothing was happening. So yeah, everything basically led to me making the decision to go out with Charlie because he was there, he was interested in me, I was wanting to try my sexuality out, blah. So I did that. Then when the Outback, so the Outback job came to an end in August of 2005, because uni was coming up, and I just wanted some time off before I went to uni. Like I didn't want to. I just wanted some time off work to just mess around, do artwork, whatever, get my mind prepared for uni, like whatever. And I believe I went on holiday maybe during that time in between the August ending of Outback and then going to uni. I went on holiday with my family to somewhere, Greece, I think it was. And that was when I really got into the Buddhism, having read that book fully, The Art of Happiness, The Way to a Meaningful Life by the Dalai Lama, and also reading again the hypnosis stuff because I wanted to practice self-hypnosis. So I did some of that while I was away, learned how to do a bit of meditation and learned how to do self-hypnosis successfully to improve my mood. And because of the Buddhism, I decided to stop drinking alcohol and to stop eating meat. So I reduced my meat intake over that holiday and became a vegetarian. Later on, I'd become vegan, but not for a while. I just stayed with vegetarianism to begin with. I don't think I'd even heard of veganism properly at that point. Yeah, well, I had, but I just didn't think it was necessary. It was hard enough for me to reason, like, to go against the grain by being a vegetarian anyway. Yeah, so I became vegetarian. I also stopped drinking on that holiday, so I did this meditation and self-hypnosis type of stuff to improve my mood, so I could still go out and have fun and like boost my confidence and boost myself, not self-esteem, but just boost my mood for going out while everyone else was drinking, and I just needed to be in a kind of high, happy mood to be able to feel okay while everyone else was drinking. Didn't really work because when you go out sober and you see, it's just like watching a drunken bunch of animals, you know. So I was on holiday just watching this drunken bunch of animals, and I was just trying to be happy while I was doing it. But I just got bored, you know. I just got bored after a couple of hours and just went home. Yeah. On that same holiday, I practiced some of my hypnosis techniques on some of the local teenagers and hypnotized them into doing various silly things just for the hell of it, as a kind of party trick. Got introduced all the teenagers to each other on the first night because I was just that kind of group leader type of person at that time. I wasn't actually working there, but I just took it upon myself to take that group leader role. Met this girl, can't remember her name. Maybe it began with a D, I don't know. She was cute. She wasn't like fully attractive, if that makes sense. Like something was a bit off about her, but she was still cute and she was fun and she was funny. And we did this. She would ask me this question like, "Is there a song about every subject in the world?" And she would like ask me different subjects, and I would try and think of lyrics that would match to that particular subject, and I did okay. But yeah, so we would walk around and hang out together and stuff and talk and whatnot. And I fancied her and she fancied me. And we ended up lying in bed holding hands, not doing anything more than holding hands and being in bed together. Because I was going out with Charlie and Charlie was back at home. And I wrote this song called Summer Sun, which is all about being on holiday basically and wondering whether I should stray away from my relationship because there was this girl I fancied or not, because I had this boyfriend back at home. And the chorus goes, "Another summer, another lover at home," because I was making the comparison to previous relationships, which was like I had been on holiday, like I think quite a few different summers where I've got my girlfriend at home, like, and I'm on holiday in the summer. This one time with my first girlfriend, Sarah, I was on holiday in Spain. It was like in March, actually, or April. March, April. Nothing was open in that time, so everything was really, really empty and dull and boring, and it wasn't on season, so it was just a shitty holiday. And my girlfriend Sarah was at home, so that was one. I don't know if there was one with Vicky, but Vicky was at home when I went on holiday to San Francisco, but that was over the Christmas period. Yeah. And Andrea was at home when I went to Florida um, in October of 2004. I can remember the dates now. Yes, this is all clicking into place. Yeah, so Andrea was at home when I went on holiday in September, sort of end of September to October, I think it was, 2004. So that was like another lover at home. And then coming into 2005, when I was away on holiday in Greece or Turkey, can't remember, I think it was Greece, I had Charlie at home on that summer. So I wrote those lyrics, another summer, another lover at home. And other lyrics were like, I'm surfing strong, I'm sailing faithful, I'm proving I can be the man that I say I'm made of. Yeah, which was all about me being tempted by this girl and deciding to not do anything further because I had committed myself to this stupid fucking guy. And I just really wish, I really wish that I just fucking slept with that girl instead. And that would have, you know what that would have done as well? That would have confirmed my sexuality for me, reconfirmed it. Because if I'd done that, that would have given me the sort of experiential knowledge that I preferred having sex with women. So one of the things that took me ages to realize was I didn't enjoy having gay sex. I didn't want to have gay sex. But because I was in that relationship and that was all that was available to me, I only had my memory of sex with Andrea to compare it to, and it took a while for that memory to like bubble back and to realize in comparison that I just did not enjoy gay sex at all. So if I had slept with that girl on holiday, and if I decided to actually go with what I wanted rather than to go with this stupid commitment that I'd made to this stupid guy who I wasn't enjoying being with, but just felt like I had to commit to someone, and felt guilty about leaving him and stuff, whatever. If I'd actually gone with what I wanted to do, it would have confirmed for me that I enjoyed having sex with women, and I liked the feeling of being with a woman, and I liked the smell of the woman and everything, and all the sexual stuff and attractiveness of being with a woman over having sex with guys. But I didn't, because I had this, as I say, this kind of commitment thing where I was just like really trying my hardest to be loyal and to go against any kind of bad impulses to cheat and stuff. But I wish I had cheated, actually. I really wish I had, because it would have really just, it would have been what I wanted, for one thing, and I would have lived my life in a more self-directed way, but I just didn't feel like I could. I just didn't sort of, I don't know, I didn't have the personal power, you could say. I didn't have the ability to decide for myself what was actually right for me at that time, and to be able to stick to a decision, or not stick to a decision, but to go for what I wanted, and go against society's rules sometimes, or not like, not, don't mean the laws, but I mean like go against society's expectations. So break up the relationship even though you're expected to stay in a relationship, I guess. Yeah, so I wish I had cheated on him, because it would just, for another thing, it would have just shortened that relationship, and then I wouldn't have got into all the nasty nonsense with him. But then you could say, well, you know, if I hadn't got through all the nasty nonsense with him, then I would never have gone insane. Then I would have never ended up in hospital. Oh, well, that sounds pretty good. But then I would have had a very boring life. I would have had a very normal life. And that would not have given me the insight into suffering, and the insight into the human condition, the insight into mental processes and feelings and stuff, and it meant that, you know, if I hadn't got with Charlie, and if I hadn't gone insane, and if I hadn't become one with God and all that stuff, and I hadn't ended up in hospital, then I would never have healed, and I would never have truly found myself in a deep way, because I would have never had the impetus to go deeper within myself and to figure out things, how I feel, and to really get into spirituality in a meaningful way. It's like all the stuff that happened forced me afterwards to go into therapy, and then to like redouble my efforts on spirituality more recently. So, you know, I guess I'm trying to say all things happen for a reason, because I just want to try and find a meaning for what I went through. Because otherwise it's just like a pile of shit that you don't really like. What was the point of it all? Yeah. So, but I didn't cheat on him. I carried on going out with him, and I went to university in September of 2005 to do art and psychology. I did my first psychology lecture, and I realised it wasn't for me. I was like, nuts to this. Literally, I think I might have even said those exact words in my head or out loud. I went to talk to my personal tutor that day or the next day to get myself removed from psychology and put onto something else. So I just looked around at the different other courses, and I wanted to do philosophy, because philosophy was, by my mind, I wanted to be able to learn how to reason and debate and argue and put forward my case, because I wanted to try and help the world by convincing people that climate change was real, and that we therefore needed to make drastic changes to how our society was run in order to avert catastrophe and disaster of biblical proportions. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Okay. It's a Ghostbusters reference for any of you people who know about that film. Yeah. So I went to Reading. I need to like put the video camera down. I was doing so well, and then I put the screen up so I could see what time it was, and I thought, oh, okay, let's keep that up for a bit. I can't concentrate while I'm seeing my face there. So I started uni. Previously, like just prior to uni, I got this like little pamphlet through from the University Students' Union about the different like clubs and societies and activities, whatever. Not activities, but clubs and societies. Clubs and societies that you could do and you could become a member of, right? So I circled like all of the ones that I was interested in, and they were like the Debate Society, the Rock Society, the LGBT Society, the Campaigns Forum, including Go Green, Stop AIDS, Fair Trade, and some other one that I can't quite remember exactly what it was. So some kind of refugee star. It was a refugee campaign to help rehouse refugees or something like that. Yeah, I remember that now. Star. Okay. And I think they had listings for other things that were going on there, like maybe the open mic night and the radio show, definitely the radio thing, which was called Junction 11, which is the junction on the motorway, which one of the junctions that goes to Reading on the M4, Junction 11, and that was the name of the radio station. It's the Reading University Students' Union, RUSU. So I circled all these things in this leaflet, and was like, right, these are the ones I'm interested in. I am going to go to these. So when I got to university, I should mention as well, I'd chosen Reading. I know I said a little bit about this to begin with, but I'd chosen Reading because on the like open day thing, maybe the interview day or open day, interview day, I don't know. But I went to an open day, and my friend Jessica, who I'd kind of fancied at school, but nothing really ever happened between us. My friend Jessica had already started at Reading because I took a gap year, right? I took a gap year to become successful in my band, which didn't work. And so I was going, after my gap year. Um, obviously that's evident from the story, but I should just say it in those terms. So I finished school, took a gap year, went to uni the next year, because my plans to achieve any kind of success in my band just crumbled before my very eyes. Yeah, so I took the gap year, got to uni, right. But during the whole thing, I went to an open day with my friend Jess, and I just felt like a really good vibe at Reading. I just felt like this is my place. This is the place that I want to go to. I'd already been to Reading and played gigs in Reading at the Purple Turtle and maybe a couple of other venues in Reading in the band or acoustically. So I already liked Reading in general. It was a good place for me because it was musical and I was very musical. And it had a lot of live gig opportunities. So for me, Reading was a good place for me culturally because I was just fitted with what I wanted to do. But specifically, when I went round the campus with her, I just remember thinking, yeah, this is it. This is the right place for me. This is the place for me, There was the other angle that is quite near to home, and people were saying, okay, well, you're not so far away that you can come back and bring your washing home and mum can do your washing for you, whatever. But I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'll do my own damn washing. But yeah, it was closer to home. So there was that. I suppose that's good or bad. I saw it probably more bad than good, to be honest, because it was too close to home. So I had to come back, I suppose. I didn't have very good excuses to stay away. And I think I would have preferred to stay away just to give myself some time away from my family and to just develop and grow. Well, that might be just in retrospect. Yeah, so I decided, like, yeah, this is me. This is the place that I want to go to. This feels right. This is good. I'm happy here. So during the Freshers Week, right, well, the first day I remember going to uni, we had a little talk given by someone in our halls of residence about stuff, about maybe uni life and how things were going to go and things to be aware of. And they gave us this little purple cable for our Ethernet internet connection, right? They told us about our, what was it, email addresses, like Reading student email addresses. We all sat on the floor, I think, actually. Yeah, we sat on the floor and listened to this person speak. And then there was a band, actually. And it might have even been, it could have been, was it that? I don't know if it was that evening or another. I definitely played a gig at Reading Students Unit at St Patrick's Hall in the kind of common room hall area. They had a piano there, but I played an acoustic gig. I think like during the first week, I just remember I definitely played a gig there because I remember some of the songs that I played and I remember playing them. Yeah, so I was very good at like getting gigs and stuff for myself. I just like find an opportunity. I was always finding opportunities to play music. I ended up playing music at another thing for St Patrick's later on, which was like, it could have even been like a graduation ball or something, or an end of year ball. I even played when I wasn't actually even going to, when I'd quit the uni. Like I played there when I'd even quit the uni. Yeah, so I was very good at getting opportunities for myself and making things happen, both for me and for the community around me. Like I remember, I just wanted to be involved in everything. I went and hung out with the St Patrick's Hall. They had like this kind of staff group. So there were older students who were like a leadership team on dealing with various things in the halls of residence. And I remember wanting to go to that group as well and just to have my 2 cents worth there. I just wanted to get involved with everything. I thought I was like a little politician guy. I just wanted to change everything and make things better, and certainly had a very environmental edge to everything. And I was always about like recycling and saving energy and stuff like that. Yeah, I just wanted to get involved in everything and also play music as well and get paid if I could. So at the on the first day, we had these kind of buddy people assigned to us with like special sashes on, like red sash or whatever, sort of bib. I think it was more of a bib to just, I think they were third years and they were supposed to just kind of help us settle in and tell us what was going on and stuff. So I lived in a halls of residence where it was like this one flat block of flats, block of rooms, right? But there was lots of different blocks. So I was in, oh God, what was I in? C block? Yeah, I was in C block. St Patrick's Hall, C block. I went back there recently and I just looked at it. I was like, yeah, it looks exactly the same as it used to look. Yeah, just to look around and be a perv. No, I wasn't being a perv. I was just like, I want to remember what things were like. And so I was in C block and I was in the first room. Like, as you go in, there's like one room, two room. I was in the second room. So first floor. First room on the left was the kitchen. Then you had a actual bedroom for another person. So I guess I was in room 2. And then there's like another one there, and then there's like 3 floors in total, I believe. There's some long stairs in between. So on that first day, pardon me, I was very chatty, got chatting with everyone, was playing the ringleader, a little bit like how I played the ringleader at the on that holiday, cracking jokes and getting everyone to talk to each other and just sort of moving the conversation along, being like a facilitator type of person to make sure that everyone was starting to get to know each other and just keeping it as a group discussion to begin with. And I remember making friends with at least one of the guys more keenly than the rest of them. He was kind of dweeby, comic book type of guy. I can't remember his name. It might have been Chris. Everyone's called Chris though. There was another guy called Chris there. Or his name might have been Andrew. I don't know. Anyway, I think it was more like Andrew. Anyway, so I made friends with this one particular guy more because he, I don't know, seemed to have a similar sense of humour and was more interesting and more on my wavelength somehow than the rest of them. And his mum was a hypnotherapist, so he'd experienced hypnosis and stuff beforehand. So I tried out my technique on him, and he was like, you're not doing it right. And I was like, oh, crap. But I tried it out. Yeah. And so he was like, meh. So he was a kind of friend. He was the best friend I had in the halls, but I also didn't even really realise that he was my friend, you know. We had a lot in common, and he helped me to devise a certain plan for my Go Green campaign later on, which was the Big Bottle campaign, which just started off over us working out figures about how many bottles were thrown away each year or something by students in the halls. We were just doing some maths numbers about okay, so if each person throws away, I don't know, just picking numbers out of my arse here, 10 bottles a week, right? Whether it's beer or other types of glass bottles, right, or plastic bottles even. And you multiply that by the number of students, and then you multiply that by a year. Okay, how many bottles is that? And we worked out as some ridiculous amount of bottles, like 10,000 bottles or something. Even more than that, sorry. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. And so we worked out these figures and we're like, whoa. And I decided that, okay, we're wasting about this many bottles a year by not having recycling facilities because they didn't have any recycling bins in the students' halls of residence. None of them, as far as I was aware. Certainly not in the one that I was in. So I devised this campaign to get a load of people, get anyone who saw the sign to bring a load of, like, save up their bottles for a week or 2 weeks or something, and to bring them all down to the green field in the middle of the campus. Not a green field, like a square, you know, like a square, but it has this, it's a grass square in the middle of the campus, and to put them all down there, and we would arrange them into a bottle shape, like an Art Attack from that old program called Art Attack with Neil Buchanan. I know things. Yeah, so that guy helped me to figure out stuff like that, and we figured out some other figures as well, like how much electricity are we wasting a year and stuff like this by leaving our lights on all the time, things like that. So he was a good guy. He also was into comics, actually, and interested in the metaphorical meanings of the different characters in comics. Blah. But I lost contact with him. As I say, I didn't even really recognise him as a friend until later when I realised, okay, he was probably closer to a friend than anyone else in that block, apart from the girl called Neve, who was a good friend of mine in that hall. There are other people there, but most of them were kind of dicks. Yeah, I was a bit of it was a bit of a shame that I lost contact with Neve, because Neve was a really good friend. She really cared about me and was a caring person in general and a fun person. And her and I lost contact after I quit uni. In fact, I lost contact with everyone after I quit uni, apart from a couple of people who I met up with every now and again, and I mean every now and again in terms of years. I met up with one guy who was the original leader of the Go Green campaign about 5 years ago, and spoke to him, met up with him at his work, and realised, you have become the man. You are all about the green, and now you're just working for the government, basically. Yeah, so where did I get to? Well, I guess I could start next time and feel legitimate in just starting from the beginning of uni and doing a run through of that, but we'll see. I mean, next time I might just start at the beginning, go boom, 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 uni. I think I did really well this time.